What is up, guys? Zach here from the Chaos Galaxy, and today I'm very excited to be showing you the first look at the new Rokah starter deck, which should be coming out either May, June, middle of 2021. And today I'm going to be going through the archetype that comes in the starter deck, the Dustrogs. But before that, I've made some changes to the planet Rokah, and I've never done this before with a planet, but I'm changing the planet's ability slightly. It hasn't changed very much, but this is the old card, and the new one is in my right hand here. But I know Rokah's planet ability is probably the least strong, what is definitely one of the least strong, so it's slightly boosted, and I'll explain. So, the old Rokah said at the end of your turn, if you have a Rokah creature on your planet, you look at one random card in your opponent's hand, and then it goes back to their hand, and then you carry on the game. However, the new version says, at the end of your turn, if you have a zoned Rokah creature, so same as the previous one, your opponent must permanently reveal one random-handed card. So instead of your opponent just revealing it and concealing it again, they reveal it and it stays revealed. Now, the reason for these changes are that as a Rokah player, it was kind of annoying. You had to keep a pen and paper with you and write down every card you looked at to remember. Whereas with the new version, it stays revealed, so you don't have to remember. It makes the planet slightly stronger because with this version, you could say oh, at the end of my turn, I'll look at this card. They reveal it, conceal it, and then the end of the next turn, if they've shuffled their hand and you go, oh, I want to look at the middle card this time, they could reveal the same card. However, if it stays revealed, then on your opponent's next turn you go, oh, I'll choose one of these other ones. So there's no chance of you revealing the same card twice, and the fact that it stays revealed means I'll have to change a couple of abilities of cards, but I'll go through that in another video. And overall, I think this makes the planet it makes games run a lot smoother with the planet Rokah. It's easier to use on Untapped, the online version of the game, and it will just cause less problems with trust issues when you have to guess the name of a card in an opponent's hand, and they could lie and be like, oh no, I don't have 4-starred Feather in my hand, but you could be like, yeah, you do, you revealed it earlier and I saw, and so it'll just stop abilities like that being bad. So, planet card updated slightly. First time I've ever done that for the game, but I'll have to change that on the Game Crafter for everything, which is a bit of a nightmare, but it should be fine. And I apologise if any of you have the card Rokah in your collections, because you may need to remember the new ability for it. But that's the little announcement, and now I'll get on to the very exciting new archetype for the planet, which kind of revolves around this ability, the Dustrogs. So I'll start with a bit of lore. Basically, Dustrogs are small dust spirits which float about in the wind on the planet Rokah. The planet Rokah is just a giant storm, and what happens is minerals and rocks that are floating through space get sucked into the storm at such high speeds, and then when they collide with the Dustrog spirits, they fuse with their bodies, and the Dustrog spirits start to exhibit properties and card abilities that reflect the rocks that have been kind of fused with the creature. So, for example, the first one we have here is Relahex Dustrog, who is a Dustrog spirit that has collided with a Relahex crystal floating through space on the planet Rokah. That's how all the Dustrog creatures are. I really like having small bits of lore behind archetypes. I think it gives them so much more depth. 220 power, a standard 4-star common card, and 160 health, and his ability reads, once per turn, if your opponent reveals one-handed creature or combiner card, you draw one card. Very simple. So you play your Relahex Dustrog, you can attack or whatever, your turn ends, and through the ability of Rokah, your opponent has to reveal a card from their hand. If it's a creature, then you draw a card. If it's not a creature, you don't draw a card. Fairly simple. And all the Dustrog's abilities start with once per turn if your opponent reveals one individual type of card, and the individual bit means basically it's only when they reveal exactly one card, so exactly one creature. You couldn't say play a Relahex Power Crystal which reveals all your opponent's cards. You couldn't play that, look at them all at once, and then get Relahex Dustrog's ability. It has to be exactly one, so through a card ability like Rokah or some other things that I'll show you later in the video. So that is the first Dustrog for the new archetype that will be featured in the Storms of Rokah starter deck. The second one we have is Bowl-Eyed Dustrog, who, I'll just keep the pure Dustrog there, so you can see the basic version of all of these guys. So a Bowl-Eyed Dustrog is a pure Dustrog which has combined with a Bowl-Eyed Comet, a card that kills resource cards. And Bowl-Eyed Dustrog reads, once per turn, if your opponent reveals a handed, resource or attachment card, you can kill one zoned resource or attachment card. He's got pretty weak stats, only a 2-star, 120 health isn't bad, but this is just a nice answer for the archetype to get around attachments and resources. So that's Bowl-Eyed Dustrog. We're going to get into one of the stronger Dustrogs. This is Rokah Dustrog, who is a 7-star, and he's collided with a Rokah Comet. He's got 200 power and 360 health, which isn't great for a 7-star. His ability doesn't really match Rokah Comets because that kills resource and attachment cards. I didn't want to give him the same ability as Bowl-Eyed Dustrog. But each time your opponent reveals one individual handed creature or resource card, this creature permanently gains 100 power. And it's each time, so you know, you can pull this off multiple times a turn potentially, get his power up to like 400 on the turn you play him, giving him the strength of like an 8-star, and yeah, you could even go beyond that. He could be like a 600, 700 power creature a few turns into a game. He'd be very strong. And now, so he's a strong card definitely, but I'm going to show you the big boss of the Dustrogs now. And this is a Dustrog that has collided with a terrifying Phantom Matter. And Phantom Matter plus a Dustrog equals Dark Matter Dustrog. I'm a big fan of his artwork. I should have the original one on the screen. But he's got 440 power, which is massive. 250 health, which isn't as strong, but his ability reads, only once, when your opponent reveals an individual handed resource or activator card, you can attach that card to this Dark Matter Dustrog. So you get to steal that card out of their hand, like Phantom Matter steals opponent's killed cards. And then if your opponent would kill this card, you can kill the attached card instead. So not only are you potentially getting rid of a strong card in their hand, but you're then using that as like a life force for the Dark Matter Dustrog to give it a second life, and you'll be able to get through multiple attacks with that 440 power, which is crazy good. Now I've got one more Dustrog to show you who's slightly different to the rest. We've got Star Dustrog. So he's obviously a Dustrog that's collided with stars, which appear on a lot of card abilities. 250 power, so very strong for a 4-star, only 60 health, and he reads, only once, you gain 1 star for each revealed card in your opponent's hand. So he's not as specific as the others. I think he's going to be a really good card, so I've made him a rare in the deck. But you know, you potentially play him and then instantly gain back like 5 stars if your opponent has loads of cards revealed. So they're all the Dustrogs. I really like the concept behind them. I know some people who play the game competitively might be thinking that they're kind of inconsistent because you're not going to know what your opponent's revealing. You're only going to pull off their abilities half the time. But there's some support cards for the Dustrog which should help you get around that. So the first one is just pure Dustrog. It's a slightly complicated ability, but it's a permanent resource card that reads, only this card's original owner can play this card. So only you can play it if you're using this Dustrog. And whenever your opponent plays a creature, you place this zoned card into your opponent's hand. And then when your opponent plays a creature, it returns to its original zone. So you play this permanent resource card and then cosplay a Relihex Dustrog and go, right, because I've played a card, my pure Dustrog goes into your hand. And then when your opponent plays a creature, it gets returned back to your zone. So because your opponent can't play this, it just stays in their hand unless they play a creature. Whilst this card is handed, it also counts as a creature, attachment, and activator card, which fit the requirements for any of the Dustrog abilities. So whilst this card's in your opponent's hand, if your opponent reveals it, by the ability of Rokah, any Dustrog ability on your planet is going to get pulled off. And then this is just going to be an annoying card that sits on their hand, floats back to your planet, and just messes up the game for your opponent, because that's what the planet Rokah is all about. It's the bizarre planet that isn't really a planet. It's just a giant storm that messes up your opponent's plays and manipulates their game to help you win. So, the next card we have, the final card for the Dustrogs so far, is Dustrog Crystals, which is an activator card. It reads, when your opponent reveals a card in their hand, you can add one killed 6-star or lower Dustrog creature to your hand. So, the only ones you can add back at the moment are Star Dustrog, Relihex Dustrog and Bowl-Eyed Dustrog, which all fit a range of needs that you could have in a game. So getting one of these guys back to your hand is always going to be strong. I might make more Dustrogs that have 6 or fewer stars, so it'll only get stronger, this card. But just a good way to recycle your weaker Dustrogs and get your plays popping off next turn. The next card we have is, the final card we have for this video is an Oople, which is Woople Windmill. It's got 20 power, 120 health and 2 stars, and it reads, whilst this creature is zoned, when you look at an opponent's handed card through the ability of Rokah, you look at one additional card. So if you've got your Dark Matter Dustrog out and you play a Woople Windmill, your opponent's turn will end. You get to look at a card in their hand, and Dark Matter Dustrog's requirements are resource cards and activator cards when they're revealed. So if you look at a card, oh no, it's a creature, don't worry, I'll use my Whoople Windmill to look at a second card. That's a resource, so it gets attached to my Dark Matter Dustrog, and you double the chance of pulling off its ability every turn. Pretty simple, and another good card to add to the Whoople collection. Right then guys, thank you so much for watching this video. This has been the Archetype 101 for the Dustrogs. Let me know what you think of this archetype. I'm really pleased with them, especially the way that they're tied into the lore for the galaxy. That's really fun, but let me know what you think of this archetype. Let me know if you love them, let me know if you hate them. I think my favourite one, I don't like to go for the obvious choice, but I think Dark Matter Dustrog is a really badass card. Can't wait to play that in some games and mess around with opponents. There's going to be lots more Rokah support that I haven't shown you yet for this deck. I've made quite a few cards that support Rokah's new ability, so hopefully that won't see the planet in a state of transition where it's not really doing anything for too long. And yeah, the new improved Rokah can definitely hit the ground running when its starter deck comes out. So very exciting if you're a fan of the planet Rokah. Got the other starter deck coming up, which I'll confirm will be a Tekla starter deck. Very excited about that. Still got a couple of cards to make for that, but the Rokah deck is finished and ready to go. If you want to buy some existing Chaos Galaxy cards, there'll be a link to the online store in the description below. Really appreciate anyone who helps out the channel that way. Join the Chaos Galaxy Discord if you want to talk about the game, have some online battles for free. Really nice community on there. Enter my designer fan art contest, which still has about a month of it being open. And apart from that, follow me on Instagram at Chaos Galaxy TCG. Like, comment, subscribe. I'll see you guys next time. Bye.